Hey everyone, this is PJOP. Every week I upload a new video where I talk about the journey of life, the struggle in our identities, and all through the lens of Jesus. And I do it on two wheels. So if you want to be part of this journey, then go ahead and press that subscribe button and come ride with me. Hey, it's Pastor Joe here. Or should I say, it's Unsuk. Yeah, I know it's a little odd for me to say this, but I'm not always sure who I am. But that's the thing about our names. They seem so simple until they're not. Most days, people just call me Joe. Some folks from church call me Pastor Joe. My kids usually call me Daddy. But sometimes, our youngest son, that little boy called Juno, he likes to mess with me. He sometimes likes to call me Joe, as if I'm one of his little friends. But buried underneath all of that is a name that feels different, complicated. The one my grandmother gave me, the one I tried to leave behind. As I ride today, I want to talk a little bit about that name and all the stories, the struggles, and the grace tied to it. Because if you've ever felt caught between two worlds, or live with two names, or wrestle with who you really are, this story might hit home. Now, when a child is born, one of the first things parents do is they choose a name. It's not just a label, but it's a declaration. It's meant to be a blessing. It's supposed to give the child a little hope. When my wife Jury and I had kids, three of them, Joanna Juan, Jewel, and Juno, we didn't just scroll baby names on websites or look for trendy sounds. We prayed. We waited. We named each of them with a purpose. Our first child, Joanna, takes the first syllables of our Korean names, Jury and Unsuk. Ju means Lord, Un means grace. So her name means the grace of the Lord. What better blessing could we speak over her life than that? And her English name, Joanna, means the same. And it even sounds kind of like Juun. Juana, that's what people would say when they call her in Korea. So it's a perfect fit both in sound and spirit. Then 5 years later came Jewel, pronounced Jewel, with the accent on the second syllable. She was born during a wilderness season of my life. Seminary stress, zero income, and Jury's job offer taken off the table when she became pregnant. But in the middle of that mess, I was studying Joel 2 in Hebrew. I will pour out my spirit on all people. Sons and daughters will prophesy. Old men will dream dreams. That passage became an anchor for me. So, we named her Jewel. Ju, the Lord, El, God. Her name says, the Lord is our God. It's a name of promise that even in scarcity, the Spirit can overflow. And then came Juno, and he was the ultimate surprise. He arrived just 12 months after Jewel because he was born a little early. Now, we weren't done recovering from Jewel's birth, and boom, another baby. So we stuck with the Ju Dolim for all of our kids. You know, it's kind of a Korean tradition for siblings to share a syllable. And so for Juno, we chose Ju and then No. No meaning worker. So it means the Lord's worker, or a worker for the Lord. Not that he has to become a pastor like me one day, but my prayer is that he grow to labor with love wherever God places him in. Now, those names aren't just words. There are prayers in syllables. And it got me thinking about the name I carry. My Korean name is Unsuk, given to me by my paternal grandmother. Un means grace. Sok means rock. So together, Rock of Grace. Maybe she had Peter in mind. Maybe she had Jesus himself in mind. Because Jesus is the true rock, the foundation of our faith. But as beautiful as that meaning sounds, I hated that name growing up. You see, there's no clean way to pronounce that name in English. Now, some people may say Yoon Suk. Others may say Yoon Suk. There's one teacher who said Unsuck. Yeah, that became a joke real fast. Let's just say that it didn't win me many cool points at recess. So just as I was about to start elementary school in Tennessee, I was already feeling a little bit out of place. You know, Asian kid, weird name, weird food in my lunchbox. And then one day, my teacher called my dad and she said, "Mr. Park, your son is really bright, but maybe he needs an American name." So one night, we sat in the living room as a family and started brainstorming names. My parents, they even tried to get into it themselves. My mom wanted to call herself Mary, and my dad thought maybe John, like John Calvin or John Knox. My youngest brother, David, was already covered. You know, he was born in the United States, so he had to have an American name, so David was his name on his birth certificate. My other brother, Unwook, he had to choose a name, so he chose Albert. I'm not sure why. Maybe it was after Albert Einstein or Albert Schweitzer. Not sure which. And me? Well, they suggested Peter since I was the Rock. But I immediately said no. I didn't want to be Peter Parker, you know, Spider-Man. The goal was not to get teased at school, right? Eventually, I landed on Joseph. But not because of the Technicolor Dreamcoat guy. I chose Joseph because he was the earthly father of Jesus. Quiet, steady, and close to Christ. I like that. Over time, Joseph turned into Joe, you know, kind of shorter, cooler, more relaxed. And you know, there are also other famous Joes like Namath, Montana, G.I. Joe. But when I thought of famous Josephs, all I could think of was Stalin. Yeah, not quite the role model I was looking for. And every once in a while, I would let a girl call me Joey, but she would have to be really cute. If she didn't make the grade, then no Joey for you. But here's where the story gets deeper. When I became Joseph, Eunseok took a back seat. Joe became the version of me that was confident, westernized, easy to understand. He was loud, social, he was American. Meanwhile, Eunseok was still there, but quieter, timid, the part of me I tried to bury. Later, when we moved back to Korea in the mid-1980s, suddenly I had to be Eunseok again. But I didn't feel like him anymore. I had already learned how to be Joe. Now, I was getting scolded in Korean schools, failing to keep up, feeling like a foreigner in my own country. Being Eunseok was hard, maybe the hardest thing I've ever done. Eventually, I returned to the US for college, and just like that, I could be Joe again. And honestly, it felt like coming home. But over the years, the tension kept creeping back. Now that I'm in my 50s, I'm learning to embrace both names. Joe and Eunseok are different, yes, but they're also two parts of the same story. The name Eunseok no longer feels like a burden. It reminds me of where I've come from, the legacy of my grandmother, the rock of grace I hope to stand on. And yet, I'm still Joe. That's who I've been to so many people in my life. That's the name people call when they need a pastor, or a friend, or a dad. I've built a life with both names, and maybe both are true, even if it still feels weird sometimes. So here's the truth I hold on to now. It's not about which name sounds better or which version of me fits the situation, because ultimately, my worth doesn't come from what others call me. It comes from the one who calls me his. In Revelation 2:17, Jesus says, "To the one who is victorious, I will give a white stone with a new name written on it, known only to the one who receives it." A new name, just between me and Christ, one that fits perfectly, one that tells the whole story. That's the name I'm waiting for. But until then, I'll keep living as both Joe and Unzak, and trusting that the one who names me knows me fully. Thanks for riding with me today, guys. I'll see you guys on the next ride.